We lost Rob Reiner. It feels like a crazy coincidence because we were just talking about him.
Yeah, people were commenting on as it was happening, people were commenting on our Spinal Tap video, being like, man, you guys just said, like, oh, we're so glad that they're all still alive. And it's like, oh, God.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like you feel responsible or something. But he was only 78 years old. It looked to me like his health was because he struggled with obesity, obviously. It seemed like his health was in decent shape.
He seemed pretty, exuberant. He seemed very, I didn't notice any decline or anything. He seemed to still be in good shape.
Still making movies. For those who are unaware, I mean, everybody must know. This was an actor, filmmaker, and the movies speak for themselves. So obviously this is Spinal Tap, Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, the greatest, a lot of people consider to be the greatest romantic comedy of all time.
Yes! I'll have what she's having.
So you got a fantasy, you've got a a rock mockumentary, you've got A Few Good Men, this kind of like political thriller.
Stand By Me.
You got Stand By Me, Stephen King, coming of age drama. You got Misery, a horror movie. I mean, incredible range.
And I can't even, that's like one of the best runs. It has to be one of the best runs of any director.
And you know what I love about it is I don't feel like any of those movies have a directorial signature on them. Like, I don't think like you watch, this is definitely a Rob Reiner movie. They're all they just speak for themselves. They're just good movies on their own. They let the actors do their thing mostly. That's the thing about most of those movies is like he really obviously is an actor's director. They're all kind of like understated. Don't you feel like they all belong in the top 50 movies of all time? Like all of them. Like they're all incredible. Like what culture making stuff. But they also don't like scream like, look at me, the way that, Pulp Fiction does or whatever, Schindler's List does. They're not doing that. They're kind of like, they're all really understated in a lot of ways.
It was very, very weird. The whole thing was weird because that day, Anna and I were talking, my wife Anna and I were talking about, she was just reading an article about how Gen Z and younger think like, people in old movies look ugly. So that got us talking about Harry Met Sally, actually. And we're like, Billy Crystal's not like attractive. Like he's not an attractive. He's just a funny little gremlin. And it's like you could have movies where you had funny little gremlins, and we were talking about that day. Yeah. And then I was streaming that night, and somebody in chat was like, "Oh yeah, Rob Reiner just died." I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, it was just like, and then they said it was like a violent murder. I was like, it was streaming. I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Cardiac arrest. He's a big guy. Even you watch All in the Family. I don't want to talk about All in the Family, but you watch All in the Family. Like, oh, he's like towering above everybody. He was a large person. Like
he's a large man.
He was tall. And so, if he had died of cardiac arrest or something, it would have been really tragic. Like, oh man, he just made a movie. But then you find out, you're like, oh, no. He and his wife found dead, throats slit in their homes by their son, who was in and out of rehab 17 times in 7 years. And all these clips start resurfacing of like they had made a movie together, back in 2016, and it was kind of about trying to heal that relationship. And I looked into it. The kid is 32, and Rob was 78, so that would put him at 46 when he had him. So so he was like an older dad by the time he had that child, because the sister found this whole carnage. She walks in on this. And apparently she was like, you really ought to talk to my brother. I think he's the guy who did this. And because I think they were, and the reports say, some witnesses and stuff. There was this Conan O'Brien party, and Nick was there, and Nick Reiner, and he was acting really weird. And apparently he has a schizophrenia diagnosis, and that's going to be submitted in. He's going to plead not guilty. He's going to plead insanity. That he recently had medications changed on him. And that's supposed to excuse, I guess, the homicide to some degree. I guess Rob, they had a big argument because he was being really weird and creepy to like celebrities all night. And Rob was saying to like his friends, he's like, I'm kind of like, I'm actually like afraid of my son. Like I'm worried my son's going to actually like harm me. And there it is. He'd been with friends recently, alive and well, alive and healthy. And I think like that's something that's been rattling around. I have found this Rob Reiner thing really distressing. Like I keep thinking about it, and I and Charlie Kirk did the same thing, where I'm very upset by the idea of somebody being relatively alive, well, and healthy, their body functioning, their brain functioning, and with so much left to offer, and then a violent act mutilating that. It's, even at 78, right? Like maybe especially in a way, because you're like, man, what a life this dude lived. Son of Carl Reiner, the famous comedian. It was kind of like a Don Rickles era type of, he died in 2020. Very funny dude. If you haven't seen Carl Reiner comedy, and as proud as can be of his son, he was like, have you seen my son's films? They're some of the best.
What I think about him, they'll say, that's because you're his father. But he's made some of my favorite movies. If whoever made them, they'd still be my favorite movies.
There was a Dick Van Dyke interview, and he's because he's turning 100, or he was turning 100, and he was talking about Carl Reiner, and that's a trippy interview, because when he's like, oh, I got a call from Disney, and nowadays when you say that, it's like the company Disney, but he's talking about literally he was getting a call from Walt Disney.
Oh, wow. Holy shit, that's so cool.
I mean, it's like that's how long Dick Van Dyke has been around. It's like, it's just crazy. But yeah, Carl Reiner was, integral in his life too. So it's like
Dick Van Dyke's still with us at 100.
I know. Yeah. Well, let's not mention too much.
No, the jackass in the hat to kill more people.
The funniest thing is, it's not enough. 100 years is not enough. You want to live more.
I think it's pronounced Michelle, his poor wife. Holy fuck. I mean, it makes the imagination run wild of what the scene must have been like to, and to overpower a big, I know he's old, but to overpower a big guy like Rob. It was not, his knife wounds, he stabbed him, his own father. And you think about how, I don't know, probably for decades, they were trying to heal that thing and make that thing work. And I was watching Rob Reiner interviews. Another great, by the way, Rob Reiner performance, because he's a great actor too, is Wolf of Wall Street. He plays Leo DiCaprio's dad in Wolf of Wall Street. Really funny in it.
Who the fuck has the goddamn gall to call his house on a Tuesday night? God damn it!
There's just that scene where they're talking about how the women shave everything now. He's like, really? They just shave everything. He's like, naked from the eyebrows down, pa. And he's like, no bush at all. And he's like, you know what? I've never liked bush. And Rob Reiner goes, really? I don't mind it.
I've never been a fan of the bush, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't mind it.
There's a lot of clips going around. There was All in the Family, obviously. They were sharing the scene where, Archie Bunker comes into his room and he's like accosting about how he puts on his shoes, sock shoe. And it's just like he does such a good comedic performance where you can see like the gears in his head turning as he's trying to figure out like his Archie Bunker's perspective and coming up with a retort. And it's just, he's just so good, like a good comedic performer.
What about the other foot? There ain't no sock on it. I'll get to it. Don't you know that the whole world puts on a sock and a sock and a shoe and a shoe?
Such a good foil. And, he was obviously politically really outspoken, really left wing. And yet that whole show is, it's Archie making fun of right wing and it's Mike making fun of left wing. I mean, that show had a liberal perspective at the end of the day. Archie was the fool more often than not. Norman Lear, of course, was a very left leaning guy, but they totally made fun of like the bleeding heart, they would set up problems like Mike has decided that they're not having children and he didn't talk to Gloria about it. And Gloria's like, wait, you just mean not having kids here, right? And he's like, no, Gloria, we can't have children in this busy world. They would always set up these problems.
I said we're not going to have any kids. Why?
You don't mean that. Oh, no, Ma, he means while we're living here.
What? No, Gloria, I mean we're not going to have any kids, period. What?
You didn't talk like that when we got married.
What?
I'm a big All in the Family fan. I fucking love that show. And I'm like astounded by how good it is. Really, like every performance moment, the timing, the cleverness. So I've been on a kick. I've been re-binging it. I was just thinking Archie was arguing with a politician, this woman who wanted his vote, this liberal woman. And she was like, well, you're giving welfare to rich companies, Mr. Bunker. And he goes, there's no welfare in this country. We got the highest standard of living in the world, the grossest national product. You got the grossest national product.
Nobody in this country needs welfare. We got the highest standard of living ever.
And 6 to 7 million people out of work.
The grossest national product.
There's a scene, one of my favorites. There's so many. I mean, it's like, you're just lousy with them. But one of my favorites was I love any time that Mike, played by Rob Reiner, and Archie are at the table together. Just the two of them. No Gloria to interrupt, no Edith to interrupt. Because it's just, it's just two men and their differences. And one of the, for those who have not watched the show and you've got, it's for free on YouTube. Like you get, the channel is called All in the Family on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they're in fucking HD. You can watch the whole 26-minute show and you get I think treat yourself, honor Rob Reiner, watch this show. And, that whole cast is gone except for Sally Struthers now. Norman Lear's gone. And so Mike and his wife, Gloria was the daughter of Archie and Edith. And yes, my child's name was inspired by that. Thought it was nice. A nice name when I watched the show. And I thought like not a super common name these days. But in the 70s, if you went to college, you didn't work, but of course, Archie was the kind of guy who was like, I can't believe I'm going to put a roof over some guy's head that's not working. Some 22-year-old man or something. So they were married, but they were going to, they weren't ready for a baby. They weren't ready to move out. So like the whole show is framed around like this period of time where they have to live under this roof together. It's a really good premise. And Mike, they call him Meathead, obviously, dead from the neck up.
Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Stivic. You are a meathead. A meathead, dead from the neck up. Meathead.
And he ate Archie out of house and home. So he's always fucking eating. And it just drives Archie nuts. He's just constantly eating. He's always sitting in his chair and all the rest of it. And there's this moment where Mike's shoveling in food at the table. Big dude, big mustache, long hair. And Archie's just looking at him. Which is just funny on its own. And he's like, what are you doing? And he goes, well, I'm eating. What are you talking about? And he goes, I'm talking about the way you're eating. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, you ate all your peas first. It was like peas, like meat and potatoes. And he's like, that's how I eat. I eat my peas first. That's stupid.
Can't you eat like a normal person? What's normal? You're supposed to eat a little of the peas, then a little bit of the cuisine there. Zucchini. Whatever.
He's like, why? How do you eat? He's like, what you got to do, see, is you got to eat a little bit of the peas, a little bit of the meat, and a little bit of the mashed potatoes. That way it goes down nice and smooth like all together at the same time instead of just plunk meat, plunk peas. He's like picking him apart for eating wrong. Did you know that This Is Spinal Tap was his directorial debut?
Oh, wow.
That was, yeah. And like amazing. Such a splash. I mean, it's such a, first of all, like best, I think, for my money, best comedy of all time.
Hello, my name is Marty DeBerge. I'm a filmmaker. I make a lot of commercials.
But like also a very totally non-standard comedy.
Yeah, it's a very complex movie for what it is. And
directorially, it's really it's trusting the actors, right? Like that whole movie is like, I'm going to let you guys go. And like, give me stuff to work with. And and of course that inspired Christopher Guest and his style. And I would argue it inspired Curb Your Enthusiasm and The British Office, perhaps, and Ricky Gervais. It's like, you see the influences all over the place. Arrested Development, I think, kind of comes out of that.
I love in Spinal Tap when he's doing the movie reviews. We talked about it a little bit, but and he does the shit sandwich. That must have been their genuine reaction because they start laughing, but they're trying to keep in character. It's like, you can't print that. Like
you can't say that.
But they're cracking up because I don't think they expected him to say that.
The review you had on Shark Sandwich, which was merely a 2-word review, just said shit sandwich.
Can't they print that? Where'd they print that?
That's not real, is it?
You can't print that.
Princess Bride is just one of those movies that's like, it's one of those like, when are we going to watch Princess Bride? When are you going to show your child Princess Bride for the first time? It's just so, I don't know, there's something about that movie. There's something like indelible about it.
Yeah. It's unassuming. I remember, I think it was in high school, and they're like, "Oh, you got to watch Princess Bride." I'm like, "Princess Bride? That sounds like Sissy Booby or something,"
Yeah, it does kind of sell itself as feminine.
Yeah, but then you watch it, and you're like, wow. Well, that's a lot of his movies. Like, I remember even Stand By Me. I remember seeing that in high school too, similar, where it was just like, it's like. Pfft, just kids walking on train tracks or something, and then you watch it and you're like, oh my god, this is a life-changing film. Like,
yeah,
they're like so unassuming in a way.
Yeah.
That's the kind of interesting thing about them.
I think he's one of the greats, one of the greatest. The range is undeniable. Like, I don't know. Like, give me another director who will just fuck around, across the entire genre spectrum. I mean, yeah, Spielberg will play around and obviously, Kubrick did all kinds of crazy, but it's like, I still feel like every Kubrick movie, you're like, this is a Kubrick movie. It's a signature Kubrick, whether it's a military film or a sci-fi or whatever, or a horror. A Rob Reiner movie doesn't mean to be a Rob Reiner movie. It just means to be a good movie. And then he somehow managed to make the best ever. A Few Good Men, I mean, like, that's Tom Cruise's best, right? Like, that's, one of them.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the code red? You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
I mean, how many people quote you can't handle the truth and all that,
You're out of order. The whole freaking system is out of order. You want the truth? You want the truth? You can't handle the truth.
You always forget about is Christopher Guest is in that movie for like 10 minutes.
Oh,
he's like he's like the doctor, I think. Like, he's on the stand, and that dude's a chameleon. Like, that's why you don't remember that he's in it. It's like he's playing an extra or something.
It's like Gary Oldman. It's like,
I wonder why Christopher Guest didn't become like a Gary Oldman, like Oscar-winning actor, because he's just so. And then his musical talent is out of the fucking stratosphere. I know that Billy Crystal must have been very close because he was in just about everything he did, including Spinal Tap. He plays like a mime at the beginning of Spinal Tap.
Okay, I did the bird. Come on, don't talk back, huh? Mime is money. Let's go. Come on, move it.
So, I think it's just such a fucking tragedy. I think he had many years left. I was listening. He was on like Bill Maher or something, his like weed podcast. He was like, young people don't know All in the Family. Like, you could talk about it. He goes, but back then, 45 million people would watch it at the same time. And he's like, and back then, the United States was 200 million people. Now it's like 380 million people or whatever it is. He's like, so back then, like, it was like half the population and 45 million people were tuning in every night to watch us.
Every single week, 40 to 45 million people would watch All in the Family.
So a quarter of the country.
And, and they had to watch it when it was on.
He's like, nowadays you have a hit show, it's like 10 million people watched, and that's out of, and he's like, that was, I mean, we were, and he said, and it was a cultural phenomenon in as much as there was no taping it, there was no catching it later. 45 million people watched it at the same time, dude. And they all talked about it the next day, as opposed to like, don't tell me I'm not watching until Saturday, and nobody even watches things at the same time anymore. And I don't know. I feel like the 20th century, like Rob Reiner has a lot to do with the 20th century United States.
Oh my, yeah, what a time. Yeah, because like you think about, everyone would tune in, and that was for a lot of them. Maybe that was the only time they would watch. Like, that was the only time they would watch that particular episode. There was no guarantee you'd ever see it again.
Right.
Exactly. It's crazy.
And then you find out 45 million people watched it. 45 million. So like a quarter of the country. And so subtract children, and you've got like everybody. Everybody watched it. I mean, there were hit shows. This was not a hit show. This was like, and he's like, and it went on like that for 5 years, for like the first 5 years of the show. That's why they did Archie Bunker's Place and all the rest of it. They were just like, we got to keep printing money. Some weird shit. The show goes to weird places. Like Edith does die in Archie Bunker's because she doesn't. They couldn't get Gene Stapleton to be in that show, and so they just killed her off screen, like Adrian and Rocky Balboa.
Right.
And there's like this scene where Archie's like, I was like, this ain't no sitcom. He's like by himself in like a bedroom, like crying out to God for Edith and stuff. Like, oh my God, dude, this is brutal.
You had no right to leave me that way. Without giving me just one more chance to say I love you.
So that was that's what it's just so unnecessary. I think that's what I find so tragic about it. It's so unnecessary. Like, maybe if it's one, it haunts me, like, to think like when somebody gets in a car accident, like if just the timing had been a little different, and and you still have somebody with you, and we're all gonna die.
Yeah, we are.
it's coming. Like we don't think about it, but we're going in the box. Sometimes I think about, like, my aunt died last month. We hadn't talked in a long time, but we wrote these long letters to each other every Christmas, and she was very depressed, and she was my cousin looked after her the one night of the week that he stayed at his girlfriend's, and she dropped dead of a heart attack. And she hadn't been in great health for a long time and stuff, but I didn't know that would be the end of Aunt Anne, very suddenly. It's coming. I don't know, like I ran into like an old classmate at the Harvest Festival a couple months ago, and he's walking around, he's like depressed as hell about what's going on in his life. Things didn't work out, and he wishes this had happened, and he wishes that had happened, and Gloria's trying to speak life into him, just meeting him for the first time, this guy. But see, there's all this sadness, and it's all temporary, and you can be one of the greatest figures of the 20th century, and then you can lose your life tragically, and that physical vessel is gone. And I think it sends some people down the path of, like, well, better live every day like it's gonna end any second. And it's like, well, I don't think that's it either, because that's just nihilism. And I don't know, something that's been on my heart has been It's a Wonderful Life, because it's Christmas time. I think it's like, be a great man. I think it's like, be something that, had you not been there, it would have been a lot different,
Where's Beavis?
Beavis?
He's at the homeless shelter with Stuart. He's homeless?
Sorry, I just started thinking about the Beavis and Butthead episode where it's where everything's like pretty sweet without them.
Don't do that.
What are you doing, Beavis? Have we met, sir? It's me, you bunghole.
Yeah, make a difference, I suppose. Like, make an impression. And that doesn't, it doesn't have to be the biggest splash in the world, but Rob Reiner, it's like, yeah, he lost his life tragically, but because he had a life in the first place, which is also something that's kind of up for chance and chaotic. We have Princess Bride, Spinal Tap, All in the Family, Stand By Me. Incredible artistic legacy.
Cheers to him.
Yes, cheers to Rob.
May his soul rest in peace.
All I know is Beverly was killed because of what he was. And we're all supposed to be God's children. It don't make sense. I don't understand nothing no more.
Ma, did you ever have a subject in school that you didn't understand?
Yeah, algebra. I hated it. I couldn't understand it, so I dropped it.
But you didn't drop out of school, did you? Ma, what I'm trying to say is that maybe we're not supposed to understand everything all at once. Maybe we're just supposed to understand things a little bit at a time.
Grandpa? Maybe you could come over and read it again to me tomorrow.
As you wish.